Array formulas. Let's take a look at some other easier ways to create arrays. As we did on the first day of class, we can simply highlight a number of cells and give them a name. I will call this original. Remember to hit enter. Then I can go down and highlight some other cells and simply say equals original, Control Shift Enter. I have an array of the previous data that I highlighted or named original. Notice in this array each one has a curly bracket and it's called original, the very same formula. If we wanted to take a look at this formula, let's look at Name Manager, original, and let me make this a little bit bigger so that we can see it. Notice it goes 23, dog, 30, semicolon. That's because it's going to a new line. 2, 6, cat, semicolon, and so forth. Each time it goes to a new line, uses a semicolon. As it goes along the row, it uses a common. Now this one is still hooked to the underlying formulas on the page. We can also transpose this table. This time I have 4 columns and 3 rows, and I'll equal transpose, original, Control Shift Enter, and I've got the same array in a transposed position. Notice these are all still hooked to this original data. If I come up here and put a 0 instead of 30, all of them change to a 0. Perhaps we'd like to create a version of the array that is not linked to this original page. So I'm going to highlight 3 columns and 4 rows and say equals original. But before I click Control Shift Enter, I'm going to turn them into the individual values, hard code them if you will. I do this by, while clicked here on the function, I hit F9. You'll see there the array 23, dog, 0, semicolon, 2, 6, cat, semicolon, etc. Now when I hit Control Shift Enter, I get each one of these values. You notice if I click down here, every one of the cells in the array contain exactly the same formula. Also, note if I go back and change this to 30, it didn't change down here. If I wanted to make a change here, I might try to come up here and say, let's turn this 0 into an 11. I hit enter and it says, you can't change a part of an array. Okay, so what I need to do is select all of the array. Remember, I can hit Control / and then I can come up and highlight the formula, put in 11, and this time hit Control Shift Enter, and it lets me change the whole array. However, every item in the array contains that very same formula. Let's next define an array called numbers. Simply highlight it, and I'll name it. Enter. Okay, we have this array available to us now. Let's highlight here, and we want to multiply our numbers array by 2. So I say equals numbers times 2. Control Shift Enter. Well, 1 times 2 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 2 is 6. We have a problem here. Why? We can't multiply cats times 2. You say, well, maybe if it's a rabbit, then it would work. Let's try multiplying an array by itself. So equals number. I could say times numbers, or I can say to the second power by using a caret, and 2. Control Shift Enter. That's fun and interesting. Let's try another bit of math. Let's take the square root of each number in that array. So equals SQRT of number, Control-Shift-Enter, and we've got the square root of that. But sometimes you may not have an array already formatted. You may just create it while you're writing the formula. Let's highlight these 5 cells, and we'll put equals. I also want to take the square root, SQRT, of. This time, though, I want to put in the array right in the formula. So I enter curly brackets, 1. Why do I use a semicolon? That's right, because I'm going down. 2, 3, 4, 5 with semicolons. And then close off my brackets, close off my parens, and hit Control-Shift-Enter. There I have the square root of the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Again, I used semicolons because they are in a vertical array. Let's generate an array of consecutive integers. Here I'm going by the row, and so I'm going to use the formula you see there, row, and because they're integers, I can put 1 colon 12, and then Control-Shift-Enter, and I've got 1 through 12. If I'd put 13 through 24, then I would get those numbers instead. Here, let's do the same thing, but using the indirect function. I am just going to copy the function, being as it's already written here, through the equal, Control-Copy, and then I'm going to highlight this whole area, and then come up here and do a paste, Control-Shift-Enter. Likewise, we have another array of consecutive integers, but using the indirect functions going from numbers 1 through 12.